This is the Creepy Crawly Beasties matchup. I love saying that. This is the Critters versus the Gremlins. Who would you want to go up against, I guess, is what we're going to start with. So let's start with the other guy now. Okay, why? I got to know why.
I don't know. Just I saw Critters a lot later in life than I saw Gremlins. So as a kid, when I saw Gremlins, it just scared me to death. Because it starts off as this cute, cuddly little creature. And as you know, all kids, you should never give something, with all the rules that you have to follow to take care of this. I mean, I couldn't even take care of a hamster when I was a kid. And I knew that if I got one of these cute little creatures, that the first night, in the middle, I would just have to leave something out and, give it food, whatever, and just pour water on it, what have you. But I just knew as a little kid watching this film that in the middle of the night there'd be these clawed hands reaching up, from underneath my bed and grabbing me. And so that for me, that's the main reason, is just the time in my life when I saw it. And when I saw Critters later on, it just seemed to me as kind of goofy fun. And I know that they're still frightening characters, but
it's like Pac-Man with teeth and fur.
Yes, yes. But like I said, it all has to do with the time in life when I saw it. And it's something that when you experience it as a child might influence you, and then later on you go back and see it and think, my God, why did I ever like that? Or
we've had quite a few of those experiences.
And sometimes we don't outgrow that. Sometimes it's still, when we're adults, we still like things we liked as children, or are still frightened by those things. But that's my argument there. That's why I'd rather go up against Critters.
Yeah, see, and to me, it's sort of I have a very, very warm place in my heart for Gremlins in general. I think it's even going back to the Looney Tunes Gremlin. It's sort of, there's something just fun about this mischievous, sort of fun character. And a lot of times when people think about the Gremlins, they think about in 2, where it's a lot of this ridiculousness, it's all this silliness and very funny lines and very funny things, but it's this very goofy kind of thing. But if you go into the original one and you look at the viciousness and the plague-like nature by which they exist, that to me is much more formidable, because the Critters, while they are vicious and awful and very bloodthirsty things, they're also kind of inept in a lot of ways. If you think about their technical sort of place and how
it takes a lot of intelligence to make that giant eating ball.
Well, sure. I don't want to take anything away from that, but it's one of those things where there's an isolation aspect of it. If they land in certain parts of our country or other countries, they're not making it more than a couple of miles, and they're going to be taken out. Whereas with the Gremlins, have this insidious, like I said, plague-like nature to the way that they are. And in that first one, there's a real mean, ugly way in which they interact with their environment before it gets goofy. But it's sort of like there's a real ugliness to that, and it's like that's hard to combat when you've got something that's exponential in the way that it exists. And to me, it sort of is like, thankfully Billy was around, which was good. That was helpful. But it's one of those things where, to me, that seems like much more of a threat.
Actually, more than Billy, thankfully Gizmo was around, right?
Yes, that's very true.
Because you look at it, Gizmo's kind of the hero in that.
Well, they had, Spielberger's no dummy. I mean, you have to have something cute to sell. You can't have these grisly-looking green things, it's this beautiful, iconic, small-town America, and sell that to people at multiplexes. That just wasn't going to work, So Gizmo has that formidable character, and ridiculously as Rambo-ish in the second one. Without Gizmo, it starts to become
there's
silly.
Nothing ridiculous about Rambo. Rambo and the United States go together.
When you got the paper clip and the rubber band with the torch, and he's got the little bit. For Pete's sakes.
Hey, that could work.
Oh, come on.
Yeah, no, I'm with him. Rambo was a bit much. So, seeing as you're both giant Gremlin fans, I'm just gonna throw this out there. What do you think about this proposed reboot?
I hope to God they don't do it, because you know full well what they're going to do.
CG.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
And that's atrocious. I mean, we were talking about the new Carrie film a little bit earlier, off camera, and one of the things that's great about it is the human part of it, and one of the things that's terrible about it is the shiny, ugly CG baloney that takes you right out of the human thing. And if you think about Gremlins, one of the things that makes it great, that makes you dive in there, and for people like me who just love it because of it, it's a practical effect. It's this real thing that's really there, and you know full well that they're not going to have the Harryhausen, Winston-esque charm to a thing. You know that they're going to run it through a computer, and there's going to be a bunch of baloney and overdrawn stuff. No way.
Right, and it's
ugly. No way.
And it's also going to affect the human performances, because there's not going to be. You're going to have an actor trying to react to something that isn't there, or to a little card holding the place where they're going to put in the CG.
A little tennis ball with a smiley face.
Right.
Yeah, a little green.
It's right here. Look.
You're going to have, and in a lot of films you see that, right, where you see that the actor's eye line isn't proper to who they're acting with, and you're going to see all of that.
Yeah, and that's the thing where it's sort of like what makes especially the first Gremlins movie, what makes it so wonderful is that it's you at least for me anyway, being younger and then in older years, you look at it and you're watching all these things happen, and you pretty much give over to it actually being a thing, actually happening, and you lose that. And not all CG is bad. They do a lot of CG work that's great, but with something like Gremlins, it just takes away that little bit of reality, which sounds so weird, but that reality that makes it so, in my mind, the original movie is so timeless and it's just so wonderful. And now I hope like what they were talking about with the Suspiria remake, where they get into legal problems, they get into money problems, and it all is. That's what I'm hoping.
It could be worse. It could be a found footage Gremlins movie.
I don't know. I might actually pay to see that one. I'm not gonna lie.
No, leave it where it's found. Don't pick it up. Don't touch
We're
it.
giving round 2 to the Gremlins for being the worst of the worst.
There you go.
But my absolute favorite part of that movie was the stop motion when they got out in the city and they came out of the shadows after Stripe and it was all little puppets. I loved that part.
Oh, it's
like my greatest scene in that movie ever.
just so
in
crazy.
the remake, it's going to be like a million of them, all CG, in broad daylight. Where it does.
Yeah, think about it. If you've seen any
Which it
clips of
couldn't
that
be.
new Smurfs thing that they did,
I like
they're
the
gonna be
Smurfs.
they're gonna be like that. They're gonna be like.
It works for Smurfs, but not Gremlins, for
This
sure.
is what I'm saying. It's just sort of as like, it's just no, please, for the love of God. No.